when you start creating videos, and even if you've been creating videos before, but you don't feel confident yet looking at the lens, try to shift it. And instead of looking like right into the lens, put the camera at a 45-degree angle, still on your face, but you're not looking directly into the camera.
Brando, hey, let me tell you the truth. It's not about who you know, but who knows you. Brando, it's your story. You can rewrite it if you so choose. It's your life. You decide those moves. Brando, you want to talk about getting the bag? He built a 7-figure brand from scratch. Brando, it's the Brand Up Podcast, but you already know. Enough talking, bro. Let's start this show. Brando.
What's up, guys? Welcome to this new series of Brand Up Podcast Q&A. Now, these questions that I'm going to be talking about in these upcoming solo episodes have to do with individual topics. So instead of me interviewing somebody that it's well known, on a specific topic, it's actually my take on different questions that I either get on my YouTube channel, on my Instagram account, or right here on the podcast. So if you'd like to submit a question like this, there are two ways to do it. One, you either go to my Instagram personal page, which is Marian Esanu, just my name, and you can find it in the show notes below. You can find the link right there, and just DM me the question that you'd like me to address here on the podcast. Or if you go to thebrandupshow.com, again, the link is www.thebrandupshow.com. You just put your information in there, name, email, you submit the page, and then on the thank you page, you actually have the option to click on one of those voice little buttons, and then you can record the question there and ask me the question. So today's topic is the top 3 tips to build confidence when creating content. So I know I struggle with this a lot. Now, we all struggle with this for various reasons. My main reason was the fact that English was my second language. So I always thought in the back of my mind that I'm going to be judged for my accent, which at the end of the day, if I would try to teach maybe English, let's say, I'm an immigrant, and let's say if I would teach English to immigrants, maybe I can be judged because of my accent, right? Because it has to do directly with the topic that I'm kind of being afraid of being judged of. But my topic, my expertise, my passion is personal branding / marketing / whatever you want to call this whole niche, right? So as long as I'm staying within my lane in terms of talking about the things and bringing enough value to people, like for example, if I put a headline, top 3 ways to grow your business in 2023 using video, and if I deliver on that headline, nobody's gonna care about my accent. They didn't come to that piece of content, regardless if it's audio or video, because of my story or because of who I am as a person. They only came there because of that headline. And that's important to remember, because a lot of times we overthink this whole concept of building confidence, which at the end of the day, if you have the expertise, if you have, and not just the expertise, let's say you have a passion about something and then you start creating content about it, nobody says that, the whole imposter syndrome thing, and I talk about this in my upcoming book. I'll share more about that in the next couple episodes, but I talk about imposter syndrome only comes in place when you don't feel confident in what you sell, that it can bring results to people, right? So there's no problem, in my opinion. Let's say, like right now, I become a content creator in the fitness space, and I have nothing to do with fitness when it comes to, I love fitness. I work out, 6-7 days a week. I lift weights in the morning and I do jiu-jitsu at night. So I do a lot of physical activity, right? And I'm really passionate about it, but I don't create content about it. But if I would not start directly tomorrow selling a program about, let's say, how to build muscle or how to burn fat or things like that. No. If I share my experience and my story on, let's say, how I lost, 20 pounds in the last 2 months by just making small improvements in my workouts and small improvements in my daily habits of eating, or how I overcame some type of addiction on food or on sugar or things like that, right? if I start creating videos just talking about that and not asking for anything in return, there's no reason to feel the imposter syndrome, right? But I digress. I just went a little bit sideways to kind of give an example. And this is actually in my book. I explain step by step how to do that. But let's go back to the top 3 tips to build confidence when creating content. So number 1, in my opinion, you should only talk about the things that you really know, you're really an expert of, or if you are just starting out creating content, like I said, if I start tomorrow creating fitness content, only things that you are passionate about, right? So there's no reason, and I know we kind of find ourselves in this trap a lot of times because we are being taught and we are being fed this idea of, well, you should look at the things, and I'm guilty of this too. Especially from a coach perspective, I always coach my customers, my clients, telling them, hey, look at other accounts that create similar content that you want to create, and then look at the videos or look at the episodes that really, in this case, would be videos because you can really look at episodes. Apple doesn't give you the exact number of plays per episode unless you are the owner of that podcast. But bottom line is, if you go to somebody's Instagram account, and as long as they don't have the views turned off in terms of sharing the number of views or sharing the number of likes with the rest of the people, you can see how many views somebody got on their piece of content. So I'm guilty of telling my customers, oh, go look at somebody else's account and then see what videos really outperform their account. So if somebody's at 100K followers, or if you're just starting out, look at somebody that's 1,000 followers but has videos that got 3,000, 4,000, 10,000 plus views, because those are the videos that the platform realizes, oh wow, for some reason people are consuming this content more, so let's show it to more people, right? So if you have 1,000 followers, but then you have 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 views, it means Instagram is promoting this piece of content to a wider audience. Therefore, if you look at that and you try to replicate it, in theory, if you create a similar or even better piece of content, you should get the similar amount of views. Now, it doesn't work always the same exact way. However, a lot of times it's a good formula to not try to reinvent the wheel and try to look at the things that already work, right? But when you try to do that, and let's say you are not as passionate about that topic as the other person. So the most simple example, let's say I'm passionate about marketing and personal branding, but I'm not really passionate about, but more of the storytelling part of things, right? And then somebody else that's in the same industry is passionate about marketing and personal branding, but they're more passionate about the numbers. Or maybe I'm passionate about the paid traffic side of things, and somebody else is passionate about organic side of the platform. So if I look at their account and then I start talking about the organic marketing, but I'm more passionate about the paid traffic, now it becomes really a trap for me, because one, I have to go out of my lane. And of course, it's a time when you have to do that, and you have to kind of widen your expertise to kind of understand more your industry and your competition and things like that. But if you're just starting out to create content, it's really not a good idea to try to model something that either you have no knowledge about, or two, if you don't have the knowledge but you're not passionate about it either, now it's going to be really hard for you to actually do that. So for example, another thing for me when I create podcast episodes, like I really enjoy recording and I really enjoy giving my take on things and creating these solo episodes, but I would hate if I would have to edit it myself. It's just not my forte to spend an hour to cut mistakes and do other things like that. So again, tip number one is to only talk about the things that you really know and have knowledge about, or you really have a passion about that topic, because things are gonna feel more natural when you do that. It's not gonna feel like you try to force some topics into the mix just for the sake of the views, right? So that's tip number one into building confidence, because when you feel confident with yourself talking about a topic, it's gonna be so much easier for you to build that habit of becoming more and more confident, right? Tip number two, in my opinion, is to start with an audio podcast. Or even if you don't go the whole podcast launch and trying to really rank on, Apple algorithms and try to get reviews and try to get downloads and things like that, you should still do at first a couple audio episodes and maybe just put a photo. You can create one of these templates in Canva. I'll try to look for one and put it in the show notes below so you can download, and then put one of those waveforms on top of it, and boom, you just start creating a 2-minute audio episode. And you put it over. You don't even have to go fancy with really edit, a lot of it. You can just have it raw, because again, if you talk about the things that you know about, or you talk about the things that you're passionate about, you don't have to edit as much, because it's going to come, the topics are going to come natural, right? And then you use that template from Canva, and then you can post it on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. Now, don't expect to get a ton of views or a ton of comments and things like that unless you start posting them on the podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Amazon, places where people actually consume podcast episodes, audio versions of it, right? Because think about when you consume a podcast episode, when are you doing it? Like in my case, I do it when I walk my dog. I do it on my way to the gym. Sometimes I even listen to it on the treadmill. I don't typically listen to podcasts when I lift weights, because I try to listen to something more aggressive, like hip hop and rap and things like that. But I do consume podcasts when I walk, if I go for a jog, if I again walk my dog, or if I'm just driving, sitting in traffic. I always listen to a podcast episode.
Brando.
So that's the perfect time to to be discovered, when somebody's listening to an audio piece of content. But it's not a bad idea to actually start with audio episodes, because you don't have to worry as much. You'll see, if for all of you guys that are video creators already, you know how much it takes and how much it goes into setting up the perfect angle for the camera and making sure the lighting is good and making sure you look good on camera, make sure you're in focus, and make sure that everything is set up properly and connected with the laptop and hitting record, and a lot of other things that go into the process of creating a video versus an audio is so much easier. You just pretty much need a mic, and then if you're a Mac user, you use GarageBand, or if you use Windows, there are other softwares that you can use free of charge to record audio episodes.
Brando.
And now you can even do it, like at first, you can even do it on your phone, if we're talking about building confidence. And then once you record these episodes, try to listen to them at least a couple of times. And at first it's going to sound weird, because you listening to yourself, like I don't like listening to my own episodes, to be honest. But when you have somebody that is actually editing the episode and putting a piece of music on top of it, all of a sudden it gets life. Like that piece of content becomes alive, pretty much, right? So again, do a little bit of a recap. Top 3 tips to build confidence when creating content. Tip number 1, only talk about the things that you really know about, you have expertise about, or at least you're passionate about it. Number 2, start with audio podcast at first. Again, this is building confidence before you start going into video.
Brando.
And number 3, this is a huge one. For some reason, not a lot of people are talking about this, but when you first start creating video content, again, do not look at the camera. Position the camera 45 degrees in a 45 degrees angle, and have your laptop, and in this case it can even be much easier because you can look at the notes and pretty much read the notes, but again, you have to act a little natural. So you put the camera at a 45 degree angle, and then as it films you, and regardless if it's left or right, doesn't really matter, then you look at the screen, because you look at the laptop. Again, you do not look at the camera, you look at the laptop. And you can even put a mic in front of you, regardless if that's the mic that you record on or not. You can put a pair of headphones, and now you actually look as you are recording a podcast episode, And this can be, and it's not faking it. No, this is actually a really great exercise for you to implement. I guarantee this is going to feel so much better, because a lot of people they have that camera shyness. Like they when they look in that lens, sometimes it's a scary world, because you look at it, nobody's in front of you. If you've never created a piece of content before, it can feel daunting at first. So this way, you can actually, again, you look like you're creating a podcast, and you actually are, because you're recording a piece of content. So you pick a few topics, let's say you pick 2 or 3, and the tip at first, the trick actually, you should not create very long episodes. I would say stick to maybe 3 to 5 minutes at the most. Try to create shorter episodes, because it's gonna feel easier for you to start implementing this, and then you'll see with time. And also, this is also almost like a Hollywood movie type of trick, because every time when you look at the camera directly, especially when we create these reels and these short form pieces of content, a lot of times when you look at the camera, if you don't feel confident, people feel it. Like, you can tell when somebody's not feeling confident on camera and they post it, you can feel the shyness in that piece of content. But when you don't look at the camera, now all of a sudden you become like, you don't feel the fright of the camera. You don't feel that shyness, because you're not looking at the lens. You're just looking either at the screen. You can, pick something. If you have some type of desktop photo that just helps you get amped up a little bit, do that. That works too. But if you look at the bullet points for that short episode that you begin creating, it's gonna be a game changer. I promise you, this is gonna help your content creation journey in such a way that you'll feel the difference in like less than 2 days.
Brando.
Again, block maybe 2 hours. Use 1 hour for researching some topics that you feel okay talking about it. Again, just have some passion or some expertise, and then pick 3 to 5 topics, and then start creating these episodes. If you already have done a few on video, this is going to be even easier, because now you're not going to look at the video. You're going to look. I'll try to search for a few episodes that I actually recorded in my podcast room recently with my wife, and we said, instead of just using the actual camera, let's just make it simple. So we were already getting audio from a podcast mic, but I said, let me just put the phone at a 45-degree angle and record that way, and let's see what type of content we're getting. And it was so much easier, because now you don't have to try to put the cameras to film the person as they are talking to the camera, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a podcast, right? But in this case, then I replicated at home, and then I also replicated with a few customers, and people were just loving this process, because it's so much easier, again, to not have to look at it. All right, so let's not make this episode too long. Let's recap real quick. Top 3 tips to build confidence when creating content, especially for beginners. Number 1, only talk about the things that you really know about, you have expertise about, or you have passion about it, right? Tip number 2, always start with a podcast episode, an audio version of it, if you've never created a piece of content before, because it's going to be much easier. You're not gonna need as much time. The biggest problem that I see customers, that I see other people that want to become content creators, they struggle with the fact that they are spending too much time looking into the software that you have to record, setting up the camera, recording a couple episodes and realizing, I'm not in focus. Then once you're done worrying about the video quality, now you worry about, but has the mic been placed close enough? So you have all these different things, right? You got the lighting, you got the battery of the camera. So always start with an audio podcast at first to just build confidence. And tip number 3, when you start creating videos, And even if you've been creating videos before, but you don't feel confident yet looking at the lens, try to shift it. And instead of looking like right into the lens, put the camera at a 45-degree angle, still on your face, but you're not looking directly into the camera. So for example, if you have the camera on your right side of the face, you look a little bit towards the left at that 45-degree angle, you look at the laptop. But of course, the camera only catches your face, depending how big the angle is. And then maybe you have a mic in the frame, maybe you have some headphones in the frame, and now it looks like you're creating a podcast. And I guarantee you're gonna feel the difference in the way that your voice sounds and the way that your confidence is going to build so much faster. And literally, I would say less than 2 days, you'll feel a difference if you are doing it, of course. All right. So I always like to keep things simple and give you guys 2 things to implement at the end of each episode. So number 1, make sure at the end of this episode, evaluate exactly what type of content have you created so far. Are you confident with it? Do you feel confident and comfortable on camera? And if you don't, implement these things that I just talked about it, and please let me know. Go to my DM on Instagram, go on my Instagram and DM me. Again, I'm at Marian, Marian Vesanu, Marian Esanu, that's my full name. And let me know if this has helped you at all. And then long-term tip for the next couple weeks or months, you should gradually go to the next step. So if at first you only talk about the things that you feel passionate about it, things like that, then you start with the audio podcast after maybe a couple days. Maybe one day you just do research, and then the next day you block 2 hours and you record a couple episodes. 1-2 weeks you just focus on creating audio episodes. And now let's take yourself out of that comfort zone and start with your phone and record some videos with your phone the same way, like I mentioned. Use the camera at a 45-degree angle and start creating videos by not looking at the lens, and do that for the next couple weeks. I would say do it for a month, right? The same short episodes, maybe gradually increase the length of them. And now you'll see I would actually challenge you to save the first couple episodes and then save after 2 months and then compare them, and you'll see a huge improvement into your confidence. And then try one at a time. Try looking at the camera and start recording videos, and then see how things are after you've done these tips. All right. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, if you'd like to have a question like this answered on the podcast, go to thebrandupshow.com. You'll also be able to download a nice cheat sheet over there about how to grow a personal brand, and not just a personal brand, also a business brand, and how to actually make sales with it. And then on the thank you page, you'll be able to also submit a question directly here on the show. All right. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. I'll see you. Well, actually, I won't see you, but I'll catch you in the next episode. Peace.
Brand up.